Welcome to No Hacks Show, a weekly podcast in which smart guests talk about the many ways you can optimize your online presence. Spoiler alert, we're talking about AI today, so if you are a digital marketing professional wondering how this new form of computing will change your job, a marketing manager or director looking for ways to leverage these tools for your organization, or a marketing agency owner wondering what is going to happen to your business model, stay tuned and do not miss a second of this episode because it's going to be incredible. This episode is done as part of a partnership we have with Experimentation Elite, the UK's premier experimentation and conversion rate optimization event happening on December 7th in London, UK, with 3 incredible workshops happening the day before on December 6th. And my guest today is not only responsible for one of those workshops, but also a keynote session on the 7th. He is also a consultant, co-founder of Digital Analytics Association, founder of Marketing Analytics Summit, and the author of Artificial Intelligence for Marketing Practical Application, which happens to be his 12th book. Mr. Jim Sterne, welcome to the podcast. A pleasure to have you on.
My pleasure, absolutely, Sonny. I'm looking forward to this.
Thank you. Before we start, I was preparing for the episode and I checked out your LinkedIn learning course, AI for Marketing, and there was something very interesting I found in that course. You said that the importance of knowing the difference between general AI and functional AI is crucial. So could you tell me a bit about that?
General AI is what we see in the science fiction movies. It's super intelligent machines becoming self-aware and taking over the world. General AI is this idea that we can create a system that mimics humans so well that it can act as a fellow human and do what humans will do. That's the dream. That's the science fiction. Functional AI is specific AI. It is a specific model built to perform a specific function. So you could think of it in terms of a specific model to do churn analysis, or specific to do shopping cart analysis, or a specific model to calculate the probability of a corporation buying your product based on account-based marketing, etc. It is using a lot of data to answer a very specific question.
So the robots, that's not happening anytime soon. That's not something we need to even touch on today. Now, let's just briefly talk about Experimentation Elite and the workshop you have on December 6th. So could you tell me a bit about that? Who that's for? Who should attend?
Generative AI for marketing analytics. So let's take that apart just from the start. Generative AI for marketing tends to be thought of as content creation. I'm going to write emails. I'm going to write a landing page. I'm going to create outbound information, social media posts. It is so good at that and so helpful for that, that the marketing department seems to be where generative AI is being brought into corporations. But generative AI for marketing analytics, that's a different story. It's a different problem we're trying to solve. So I'm going to spend a fair amount of time just explaining what is a large language model. How does it work? How do you interact with it? And most importantly, how is it different than all of the other computing interfaces we've ever had before? What are some of its drawbacks and what are its strengths? Then I'll talk about specifically prompt engineering. Exactly how do you ask a question to get the most out of it? And then finally, analytics. If you are a digital analyst, what specific functions can this automate for you or help you create, and which functions it should not be used for?
Okay. And that last part, I think, is something we'll get into today as well in this episode, because it is equally, if not more important than what you should be doing. So not wasting your time with this incredible tool that we have now. Now, you mentioned large language models. Of course, they're the core of all of this. So could you tell me about the history of large language models, how they came to be and where they are today?
It is, if you want to go all the way back to artificial intelligence in 1956, when it was discussed for the first time at a Dartmouth conference, a very small conference, where people were trying to figure out, can we get computers to think? What do we mean by think? And what algorithm might make that possible? Since then, we've gone through a variety of artificial intelligence boom and bust. Artificial intelligence winters have happened because people had these great ideas, these fabulous papers, but we didn't have enough data. We didn't have enough compute power. Along comes the internet with big data and cloud storage, and then surprising graphical processing units. The central processing unit, CPU, they're great, but when they made gaming chips, they made them specifically to do really fast calculations that work really well for large language models or for artificial intelligence of any kind. The premier graphics chip company, NVIDIA, has become an artificial intelligence chip company. And if you bought some of that yesterday, you're happy today, regardless of when you're listening to this. So the idea for generative pre-trained transformers, GPT, is more than a decade old. And GPT-1 was a curiosity. 2 looked like there was some possibilities. GPT-3, well, now we're getting someplace. And then they came up with GPT 3.5 and said, you know what? This is so good. We're going to put a chat interface on the front of it and release it to the public. And then all hell broke loose. Everybody got super excited. And now we have GPT-4, and it's even more remarkable. All of the excitement happened in November of 2022 when ChatGPT 4 came out.
What's the main difference between 3.5 and 4? This is what will be on a lot of people's minds, I assume, because they've seen those two. They've seen there's a 3.5, there's a 4 that you can pay for with ChatGPT. So what are the main key differences there?
The main key difference is $20 a month and extremely worthwhile. I'm sure you pay more for your cable television than your internet access. And if I just added up how much I spend on coffee. So first of all, the GPT-4 is paid and well worth it. It has additional characteristics and features. So the underlying model is more sophisticated. It is, excuse the expression, smarter. Okay, it's more capable. It provides better output. It's an accurate way to say that. But it also has a couple of features like a plugin library. It has advanced data analytics where you can upload files, including pictures. It has custom instructions where you can fine tune the model before you even give it a prompt, a pre-prompt. Always remember that this is your audience you're talking to. This is what we know already. Here are the things that we want you to consider in your answers. And we want you to play the role of this sort of person. All of that can be put in once. And then every question you ask, it'll refer back to that. And you can go back and change it at any time. So those kinds of features and the sheer astonishing output that it creates makes GPT-4 a big step up from 3.5. And again, I'm not an affiliate. I don't get paid. Well worth $20 a month.
For me personally, when it came out, everybody jumped on it. Everyone jumped November 2022. 3.5, not 4. Everyone was signing up, wanting to use it. There was a lot you can do, but when I started using plugins is where the magic started happening, at least for me. So yes, I'm not an affiliate either, but I am a paying member, and I think it is absolutely well worth it. If no other reason than for the ability to use plugins. That's just my 2 cents there.
Which are your favorite plugins?
Now they're letting it browse the internet, but before that, I don't know what the name of the plugin was, the one that you could tell, go to this page, go to this website, analyze it. That was such a time saver for me that it was worth it just for that one alone. But I think now that's possible in core ChatGPT 4. So anyway, ChatGPT, everyone knows about that. Are there any other noteworthy LLMs today? And I'm very uncomfortable with how similar that is to MLM, how similar that sounds. But yeah.
We'll get used to it. So yes, so first of all, there is a commercial version from Anthropic called Claude, which is now Claude 2. Very powerful. Because it's not open source, they're much more careful with guidelines and rules and making sure that it doesn't do things it should not do. Meta, Facebook, released Llama and as an open source. So you can grab that model and use it and update it and tweak it any way you like. But then there are, and will be, a lot more coming up. Specific use. LLMs. So I'm thinking of .com and Writer and Copy.ai, which were designed for marketing people writing things. And they built their own foundational model and then have fine-tuned it for a specific purpose, for writing emails, for writing landing pages, for comparing your products to your competitors' products, the things that marketing people do. And the power of that is enormous. It's like the difference between learning how to code in, pick one, JavaScript or C++, versus buying an application where the software people have created use specific for you. In every industry, there are large language models that people have built for a specific purpose, whether it's healthcare or law or environmental or mechanics, that they have built the underlying model and then with you fine-tune it for your specific purpose.
And we'll talk about the future of LLMs later, but it sounds to me like there's no avoiding it. They will be everywhere in several years, and it's too late to put the genie back in the bottle. Not that we should, but it is out, and this is the future of humanity, basically.
Get used to it.
Get used to it, exactly. That's one way to put it. Back to marketers, back to experimentation people. How can they use this today to their advantage in their daily jobs? How can they get that edge over competitors who don't use it?
Just using it at all gives you an edge. That's easy. And where do you start? You just play with it. You try things. And if you're like most people, you try it and you think, wow, that's amazing. And then you try it a little more and you go, I'm not really getting what I want. And gee, this isn't, okay, I don't care. Because it's being used incorrectly. The correct use is to treat it like an intern or like a brand new employee who has a lot of experience and who has a lot of knowledge, but no experience.
And a lot of time.
And they have an infinite amount of time. Yes. So you can give them the same task over and over. Imagine hiring an intern and saying, I need you to run a multivariate test and give me a data visualization dashboard that I can give to the chief marketing officer. They're going to look at you like you're from outer space because they don't know what those words mean.
You forgot to add, I need it now.
I need it, yes.
Yes.
And they don't know how it's done here at this company. So you have to give them very specific instructions. Here's how we go about putting together a multivariate test. Here are the various levers that we have to pull and the content we have to play with. Here's the format that we put it in. Here are the tools that we use, etc. If you are that clear with a large language model, it will do these things for you. If you have enough context, if you give it enough instruction through the English language, you essentially are programming it to do a task.
It sounds magical and sounds very risky not to jump on board with this. It sounds that the risk of being defeated by your competition is higher than ever. Like this is where months can make or break a company or an agency from what I see because of what competitors could be doing.
I agree. And it's still surprising that I see inverse bell curve. On the one end, early adopters are all over this. We've got a huge amount of venture capital thrown into startups, and then a large dip in the middle, and then a huge amount of people who, I don't have time yet. I'll just wait for it to grow up and be something. I'll wait for Microsoft to put it into all of Office products. I don't need to learn how to do this myself. Hard to argue with them about that, but if they are completely ignoring it and not playing with it at home, and if they're not teaching their children how to use it, then yes, there's going to be a big gap. It's different than the internet. I go back to 1993 when I saw Mosaic for the first time. It took me until 1996 before I could get in to have meetings with large corporations to say, here's why you need a website, because nobody was listening before. So maybe we read about it in Time magazine, so maybe we should learn about it. What do you mean we have to have a website? I explained what the internet would do. I didn't know I was supposed to call it Web 2.0, but you will be able to sell your products and services to your customers on the internet. No, it'll never happen. Yes, it will. That took some companies years. This is not something that people are coming too slowly. It's everybody, everywhere, all at once has access.
Yep.
Some people are just, I'm too busy doing my job. That's like, I'm too busy running down the street to jump in the car.
That's a very nice analogy. And we had a situation like this, not to this extreme. Yes, Web 2.0, that was one, but social media bandwagon and all the companies, we're too busy. No one's going to listen to us. Why would we use it? And then you got so many brands that just got made on the social media, influencers, personal brands. Those were the people not only who jumped on it early, but who knew what to do with it, figured it out on the go, basically. Because when we got what used to be Twitter back in the day, people didn't know what to do with it. People just started talking, experimenting. How do I connect with my audience? We got YouTube. There's a whole industry of YouTubers now who shoot videos and make money shooting videos and publish them to people they don't know. Like that is absolutely unreal. 20 years ago, that was completely unreal. The main difference from what I see, yes, in the 90s, it took a few years. With social media, it took a year or two. We're talking months here. Like, this is what it seemed like. And that is, if you're not using it, that is to me the scariest part. So what you mentioned is that intern, do the report, do that. How would that look? How would that prompt looked? For example, what would the output of that be? Can it really do a dashboard? Let's get into some more specifics here.
Yes, it can. I think it's first important to understand what a large language model is doing. It is guessing the next word. A diffusion model like Midjourney is guessing the next pixel based on a statistical analysis of what is the most likely next thing. So if I said the cat was in the front yard and saw the dog and ran up you would know it was a tree. That's just statistically could be ran up the chimney or ran up my pant leg or I don't know, but tree is the most likely thing. But if I gave it more different context and said the cat was in the living room and saw the dog, in that case, the cat ran up the curtains because context. This language model can understand the context in order to guess the next word or phrase. So if you give it lots of context and you tell it exactly how you want, and the examples are just so widespread. Give me a list of 5 Mexican restaurants within 10 miles of my house, rank them put them in a table showing columns for price, reviews, the number of times that they've been closed for health problems, and the variety of food on their menus. Here are the URLs to their websites. Go look at them and come back and give me this report.
I would say poor intern who has to do that, but with ChatGPT, that's what it's for. It's done in seconds. Exactly. That is probably the most impressive part of this whole thing. And the output can be with the plugins again. It doesn't have to be the generated text that you get with ChatGPT. It can be a lot more richer and a deeper.
And it can draw pictures now. Yeah.
It can draw pictures now. That's another good point. So many reasons to use this, and many reasons, especially for marketers, because if anyone's going to be early adopter of this and to use it to their advantage, I think marketers and experimentation people absolutely have to be. But there's also reasons not to use this, and there's situations where this should not be used, where LLMs should not be used. So please tell me about that.
This goes back to understanding what they do and what they are. And the best way, because we're still finding out what they can do, here's what they don't do well. They don't do facts. This is not a database. It's not a search engine. It's not a catalog. It's not a reasoning engine. It is guessing the next word. So if you give it your Google Analytics exported data and you say, how many people came to my website on Thursday? It's not going to look and read and understand who your visitors are and what Thursday is. It's just going to make something up, whatever is statistically most likely. Okay. It's going to say, 42, who knows? So don't ask it a specific question. However, if you give it your Google Analytics exported data and say, I'm curious about the traffic to my website and the behavior that people express, and I'm especially interested in the keywords that they put in the on-site search, and I'm interested in, here's 2 years worth of data. I'm interested in seasonality. Do you see anything interesting? And what else should I be thinking about? Do you see any anomalies? Do you see any patterns that I might investigate? You ask it for its opinion, and the output is fascinating. If you ask it for a fact, it will lie because it doesn't know what a fact is.
It might guess, right?
It will guess confidently.
Correctly. It might be correct, but
as somebody said to me recently, it's the world's best automated mansplainer.
Whoa. It's going to be canceled. That's the future of it. But let's talk about future of LLM. This is something that I wanted to ask you about. We are where we are today, and they're extremely powerful. And like you said a few times today, we don't even know how powerful they are. We don't even know what they can do today. If you had to take a wild guess, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, what does that look?
10 years of science fiction, I won't go there. I've never taken that many drugs. But 5 years, okay, let's try that on.
Let's try.
5 years, I will have my own personal AI agent, which they're producing now. You can go find them online, play with them. They're fundamental. We'll see. However, in 5 years, I will have my own agent, and it will say, Jim, your dishwasher is going to fail in the next 30 days. And I've found 12 models that will fit in your kitchen, of which 6 will fit in your style, 3 will fit in your budget. 2 of them can be delivered next Thursday when you're home waiting for the painter to show up. And I've negotiated the price on both of them to be very within pennies. However, one has gotten better reviews from customers, and the other has had better reviews from professional reviewers. Which one would you like to have delivered?
Wow. Now, that sounds like Samantha from Her a lot, but what it sounds even more like is a Black Mirror episode to me. Like, that is a perfect script where the delivery goes wrong and the machine does something unexpected.
Yeah, that's
connects to the fridge.
That's what we've been taught.
Exactly.
It's like Neil deGrasse Tyson says, every time we have stories of aliens from outer space, they have come to conquer us and eat us. Why is that? Because that's what humans do. Every time a technologically advanced civilization finds people who are less advanced, guess what we do? We give them smallpox and we take over their land. So that's what we expect. That's what we do. Therefore, that's what the machine is going to do. My favorite counter to that is an XKCD cartoon that shows the planet Earth with a bunch of missiles being fired off the surface. And the AI is saying, oh my God, humans, why do you even have these things? I'm sending them all into the sun.
Oh. But how do you call them? AI assistants, personal AI assistants, personalized assistants. You mentioned that exists already. Where? Where can people find that?
There are a large number of startups that are all playing with that.
Okay.
So I'm beta testing one where I've taken everything I've written and put it into the large language model. They put a user interface on the front, and they're setting it up to charge people, I don't know, $5 a minute to talk to an artificial version of me. I'm wildly suspect of it because it's everything I've written going back to 1996. Do you really want me to answer questions the way the world was then? Well, you don't.
Of course not.
There's some work to be done.
So it's the very early days with early stage startups still. But if it's early stage now, in 5 years, that will be mainstream, like, with the way things are moving. I cannot wait to see that. I really cannot, because it doesn't make people not think, but eliminates the unnecessary cognitive load.
It's the drudgery. The drawback I always had was, I'm an idea person. It's great. Ideas are a dime a dozen, but it's the people who execute that will get things done. Now I have a machine that helps me execute on my thoughts. If you want to run a startup, in fact, I gave this advice to a woman I met yesterday. She was working at the FedEx counter, and I was trying to pick up a package, and her 16-year-old daughter came in, and they had a brief conversation. And when the daughter had left, the coworker said, "Wow, she's a handful." And the woman behind the counter said, "You have no idea. When she was 4 years old, she was bossing her 8-year-old daughter around." Said, "It sounds like she's going to run her own company someday." "Oh yeah, we know she will because she knows everything. She Googles everything all the time. She knows more than we do." I said, "Oh, has she found ChatGPT yet?" "What's that?"
Wow.
"Oh, that's the thing that's going to make your daughter rich."
Yeah, that's the thing that will make people forget Google, maybe.
Google is using it. Google has
Yep.
got, is going to have generative AI output. What does that mean to SEO? Oh my God, tear out your hair.
They removed the generative AI part of the SERP, I think, recently, but
They're just perfecting it. Yeah. Them and Bing, they'll argue about it.
Yeah, SEO is one industry that will be hit really hard, not in a good way or a bad way, but it will be changed. It will be impacted maybe the most because it used to be about creating content and putting content out there. Now you can create an entire website with thousands of pages in an hour and publish it.
But
and now the game changes.
Yeah, but the ranking still depends on how good is the content.
Absolutely. And that's the prompts, and that's how you ask the right questions, of course.
So I would say 20% of it is the prompt and asking the right question in the right way.
Right.
Asking the right question is the 80% of domain knowledge.
Yep.
So I could create a whole website selling telescopes, and I could have it create an infinite amount of content about telescopes, and it would all be bland, would all be average writing. I could say, "Oh, we'll do it in an exciting voice and have these telescopes described by Neil deGrasse Tyson, and these described by Robin Williams, and these described by," and you know what? I might as well just have built the website by the time I'm done with that.
Yeah. No, that's the future is different. I think it's really bright. I'm a firm believer that, and you mentioned this in the course. People who use this properly, and in the workshop description as well, people who use this properly are going to be the real winners. It will not kick people out of the jobs. It will not kill industries. It will change the way we do things. And it's not the first thing that's done that to work and to humanity, but maybe the impact will be the strongest. So with that, let's just remind people once again that Experimentation Elite is on December 7th in London, UK. You're doing a keynote session December 7th in the morning, and also a workshop on AI on December 6th. So go to experimentationelite.com, get your ticket, go to the event, and you can hear Jim talk about this in person, and I'm sure you will enjoy this. And Jim, I want to thank you for being on the podcast. This has been a huge honor and a pleasure to talk to you. To everyone listening, please consider rating, reviewing, sharing the episode, and I will talk to you next week.